Hey, Joe.
Madam Speaker, I request that Sergeant of Arms escort our guest into the chamber, please.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms, escort the guests to the well.
Madam Speaker, would you ask the clerk to read House Resolution 83, please, ma'am?
Mr. Clerk, read the resolution.
House Resolution 83 by Representative Carr and others, a resolution to honor Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad of the United States Army, whereas our nation was conceived by individuals who were willing to sacrifice their personal safety and concerns to ensure our individual and collective freedom of the volunteer state. It is especially proud to be home of so many valiant men and women who have performed above and beyond the call of duty, whereas the citizens of this volunteer state have throughout the years willingly forsaken the comforts and securities of inaction by taking up arms against the enemies of this great nation, risking their lives and leaving their loved ones behind to honorably safeguard the freedoms and liberties guaranteed to all citizens of the United States, to vanquish those who threaten our way of life. And whereas one such exemplary individual is Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad of the United States Army, whereas following the patriotic tradition for which our nation's finest sons and daughters are renowned, Sergeant Ranstad is a brave and honorable member of the 173rd Airborne who fought valiantly in the Hindu Kush mountains of the Kunar province of Afghanistan, whereas on January 2, 2008, Sergeant Ranstad was on assignment manning a checkpoint that prevented the transportation of supplies to the enemy militia on the border of Pakistan, and whereas Sergeant Ranstad was called to action when 4 enemy insurgents were sighted 2,100 meters away, and whereas Sergeant Ranstad took a position with his Barrett M107 50 caliber rifle and targeted one of the insurgents while also skillfully observing a secondary target, and whereas having received orders to fire, he engaged his target and missed, whereas he quickly switched his attention to the secondary target and fired, and within 4 seconds his target was eliminated, and whereas the 3 remaining enemy soldiers took cover behind a massive boulder, Sergeant Ranstad, aware of an American Apache helicopter in the area, continued firing at the boulder to keep the enemy contained, and whereas the pilot could visualize the rounds hitting the boulder and took action with her 30mm cannon and missiles that resulted in the termination of the remaining 3 enemies, whereas Sergeant Ranstad holds the United States record for the longest confirmed kill sniper shot, and whereas Sergeant Ranstad's courageous service is an inspiration to us all and has been reported in numerous magazines and television shows, whereas this valiant American presents an indelible legacy of integrity and honor in public life, compassion and loyalty in private life, and diligence and dedication in all his chosen endeavors, whereas the members of this General Assembly should pause to recognize the singular patriotism, courage, and commitment of duty of this exceptional soldier and human being, Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad of the United States Army. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 107th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee that we honor Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad, a man of impeccable character and limitless courage, for stalwartly committing himself to the defense of his nation as a member of the United States Army.
Representative Carr.
Madam Speaker, thank you, and thank you, members of the chamber. We have in front of us today Staff Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad, who's a true American hero. In addition to, with me up here, in addition to the Rutherford County delegation, Speaker Pro Tem Judd Matheny is his uncle, his father, and Mr. Ronnie Barrett of Barrett Firearms. Sergeant Nick Ranstad, 32, is a former sniper who holds the United States Army record for distance firing a Tennessee-made Barrett M107 in Afghanistan. The young soldier recorded the shot of over 1.3 miles on January 2, 2008, near the Pakistani border, as he was helping to protect American soldiers while keeping the enemy from transporting weapons and supplies. Now stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Ranstad recently visited Barrett Firearms Manufacturing in Murfreesboro to see firsthand how the world-famous rifle was made. He recalled that day in Afghanistan, his platoon was man-pointing checkpoint Delta. He had just come off duty and was about 20 minutes into a nap when his spotter informed him that 4 enemy insurgents had been sighted at about 2,100 meters away. The rest is history. As a native of Minnesota, Ranstad, as a youngster, was fascinated by the military. When about 14, his father, Bruce Ranstad, helped produce a home movie titled Nick Schwarzenegger. where the Army wannabe dressed in camouflage painted his face and headed out on a hostage rescue mission. The senior Ranstad said that he and Nick discussed the military many times. Since his family has a long history of military service, a great-grandfather who was in World War I, a grandfather serving in the Army in the Korean War, and later was honored as an honor guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Bruce Ranstad, his father, was in the Navy. When the younger Ranstad joined the Army, he initially wanted to be in the tank platoon, but nothing was available. His second choice was Cavalry Scout or nothing. The recruiter agreed, and he was assigned to be a sniper in sniper school. Sergeant Ranstad later proved himself with the long gun, earning the coveted German medal for marksmanship, missing the gold medal by just 1 point. Only a small handful of U.S. soldiers are invited to compete for this prestigious honor, which is one of the few approved foreign awards earned by an American service personnel. Meanwhile, Ranstad's Army uniform worn that day in 2008 while on duty in Afghanistan is on permanent display at the National Rifle Association Firearms Museum in Virginia. I present to you Staff Sergeant Nicholas Ranstad. If the Chamber and the Speaker would allow me, I'm going to ask Mr. Ronnie Barrett of Barrett Firearms to say a few brief remarks.
Mr. Barrett, you're recognized.
Brief? That's good. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Nick. It's appropriate for Tennessee, who is known for making good guns and known for making good soldiers, as in Sergeant York. And I'll have to say that when I speak to Nick, his personality is quiet, serious, and kind of reminds me of the person we know as our son, Sergeant York, who's a good sniper himself. But it is an honor to have your product that I have worked for years and years to be used by good soldiers such as yourself, and to know that it's doing what it's supposed to do, and that's killing our enemy and making our country safe. And I'm so glad that you're. Glad you made it. Glad you made it home. But we're ready to see what you want to do next and head on back. So thank you, Nick. Thank you for your service. You want to say?
Thank you. It's quite an honor, an overwhelming. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Let's do a picture.
Well, they're taking. Leader McCormick, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask that for the next presentation we go under the rule.
Under the rules.